camping with your unit, if you're joining us from abroad, or you're camping at home. The opening ceremony was fantastic, and hopefully you really enjoyed building your land yachts this morning. So for this session, we're going to be on page 32 of your booklet that you got with your Octagon supplies. Have the recipe open alongside, and just be really careful when there's a little help symbol. That means that there's something sharp or something hot and you need an adult's help with that. So we're going to get started. We're making the double chocolate muffins recipe this afternoon all together, and hopefully you enjoy it. I'm really looking forward to it. So we're going to preheat our oven, okay, and you need an adult's help maybe for this bit. So if your oven is on, we're going to take out our muffin tin and we need to line it with our paper cases. So this recipe will make 12 or 1 dozen chocolate muffins. So we're going to line our bun tin and we'll leave it to one side then for when we have our mixture done and we're ready to use it. Okay, so I have my ingredients measured out just because I'll be talking as I'm actually baking and I wanted to make it a little bit easier for myself. But maybe you need to weigh out as you go, and you have the recipe booklet, page 32, open beside you to help you with that bit. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to take out our mixing bowl. We need to put our sugar into the bowl. And we need to add in our butter as well. And the recipe booklet says to cream those two ingredients together. And to cream means to beat together. So we add our butter, which I've put into cubes, just to make it a little bit easier. So you put your butter in with your sugar, and using your wooden spoon, then you're going to mix them together, or beat them together, whereas the recipe booklet says to cream them together, which is the correct baking term for what we're going to do. So I'm going to use my wooden spoon and I'm beating together my butter and my sugar. I'll know that they're done when I can no longer see any sugar granules. And if I run the spoon over the mixture, I won't be able to hear any sugar granules. And it'll look a lighter colour and it'll be kind of fluffy in texture. So I'm going to start beating here. And as I do, it's a really nice opportunity for me to tell you about our wonderful sponsors for this session of Octagon. We're so grateful to them. And our sponsors are the National Youth Council of Ireland's STEAM in Youth Growth project, which is supported by Science Foundation Ireland. So this is a wonderful project which its aim is to support youth organisations that deliver youth-led programmes to cover diverse areas of STEAM. Now you might be thinking, why STEAM and baking together? Well, STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts and maths. And when we're baking or cooking anything, we have so many opportunities to develop those skills. So we weigh out our ingredients, we're using some math skills, our cooking equipment, the heating process, there's science behind that. And of course, when we come to decorate our baked products. So all of those are STEAM skills. One of the most kind of exciting and important things we get to do when we're cooking is develop our scientific skills. And we develop those by kind of learning from our experiences. So, as we're baking or as we're cooking, we maybe try out a recipe and we decide we're going to try a different flavour or a different ingredient, or the next time we do the recipe we might make some changes. And that's exactly what scientists do when they're coming up with something new. So scientists will make a plan, they'll do an experiment, they'll test the plan, they'll look at the results. They might think maybe I need to make some changes for the next time. They make those changes and then they redo the experiment and they look at their results again. So as we're baking, we are developing our scientific skills, which is really exciting. So basically, we're all scientists when we're here in the kitchen, which is wonderful. Now, as I've been talking to you, I've also been beating my butter and my sugar here together. And mine's done. Mine is done. Okay, so I know that it's done because I can no longer see the sugar granules, and as I run the spoon over the mixture, I can no longer hear any sugar granules. So we know that it's done. So I'm just going to scrape off my wooden spoon. I'll need it a couple of steps later, but for the moment we need to take it out of the mixing bowl. I'm using my spatula to scrape off my wooden spoon. And then we need to get our wet ingredients ready. So for this recipe, our wet ingredients are our milk, our eggs, and our yogurt. Okay, so I'm going to add my milk in on top of my butter and my sugar. And then I'm going to crack my eggs into a small bowl. Now this recipe calls for 2 eggs. So we're going to use a small bowl for these. We don't crack eggs into the large bowl just in case any shell got in. It makes it easier to see it if you use a small bowl. So you hold the egg on each end with your non-writing hand. So I'm right-handed. So I'm going to hold the knife in my right hand and you hold the egg in my left hand. Use the back of the knife, which is the non-sharp part. Give a nice firm tap to the egg. Put your thumbs in and open the shell. And then you have a little look into the bowl to see if there's any shell. There's not on that one, so we're all good. So I'm going to do my second egg here, the exact same. If you do get any shell into the egg, into the bowl, no problem, just take a small teaspoon or your knife and you just fish it out of the bowl. So if you didn't crack the eggs too well, don't panic, you can take any shell out of the bowl. So we've got 2 eggs, they're going to go into our mixing bowl as well. And then we also want to add in our yogurt. Okay, so my pot of yogurt here, okay, take the lid off. And using a spoon then, put your yogurt into the bowl. So don't just squeeze the top because then we don't get all of the yogurt in. So you want to use a spoon and you want to scrape all that yogurt in. And then of course when we're washing up, we're going to rinse out our plastic yogurt tubs for the recycling as well. That's all of the yogurt in, so we have all of our wet ingredients into the mixing bowl now, and we need to whisk them. Okay, now when we whisk these ingredients together, it'll look a little bit curdled, which means that it's lumpy. It's meant to look like that, so don't panic. Okay, so we're going to use our whisk, and we're going to whisk those ingredients together now. So we're combining all the ingredients, but as I say, it will look a little bit lumpy, and that's fine. Make sure you get down to the bottom of the bowl so all of the ingredients are combined together. For the next step of the recipe, we're going to be back using our wooden spoon, so just tap off the whisk and leave it out of the bowl. Now, our next piece is to add our flour, our cocoa, and our chocolate chips. Okay, so these are a double chocolate muffin, which means the mix itself is going to be chocolatey, and we have chocolate chips in as well, which will be really nice. So, we're going to take our flour and I'm going to just pour it in. Okay, I have sieved mine beforehand, so I've sieved it into a bowl, so mine has been sieved. You're doing yours, and hold your sieve and you just sieve it into the bowl. But as I say, I have pre-sieved my flour just to make things a little bit easier and quicker this afternoon as we're working through, because I'm talking to you all as well at the same time. Okay, so we have our flour in, and we add our cocoa nice and gently as well. Okay, this is smelling really good. Then we're going to add our chocolate chips. So that's all of our ingredients. And then using your wooden spoon, you're going to combine these together. Now, we have sieved air in with the flour. Air is a natural raising agent. When it goes into the hot oven, it makes the the air bubbles expand in the heat. It's going to make these muffins rise and be really nice and fluffy when they're made, which will be delicious. But because we have sieved in the flour, we don't want to then beat that air out of the mixture. So at this stage you want to be really gentle with your stirring. And you'll know that it's mixed through when you can no longer see any of the flour. So we're essentially trying to hide the flour as we go here this afternoon. So as I said, nice and gently. You want to make sure you get right down to the bottom of the bowl as well. So we don't want any little pockets of flour separate. Okay, so mine is starting to come together here, and hopefully for you girls as well, it's starting to smell really good. Okay, so we're almost done, which is wonderful. Okay. Now, as you're working, you might want to use a spatula as well, just to scrape down the side of the bowl, particularly if you've got some flour around the edges you were sieving. And we're finished with our wooden spoon. I'm going to be filling our paper cases now. Okay, so I'm just moving my wooden spoon out of the way, and then I'm going to use a dessert spoon and a teaspoon to fill my paper cases. Okay, so best idea here is to make your job or your task as easy as possible. If you keep your bowl as close to the tin as possible, I'm going to fill one side, and then rather than trying to fill the other side, coming across the tin with your mixture. When we have filled one side, we're going to turn our tin so we're always at the closest side to ourselves. Okay. So I'm going to use a large spoon in my right hand, and I have a teaspoon then in my other hand to help me. So you take one spoonful of mixture, hold it over the paper case. Never let the spoon touch the paper case, because then when you pull up the spoon, it makes the paper case tip to one side and get your mixture over the edge. Okay. So hold it over the paper case, and then with the back of the small spoon, you just scrape down in one nice smooth motion. Now, as I said, we have enough mixture here for 12 muffins, but of course we want them to be even. We want them to be even, partly because when you're sharing with someone else, your family or your guide group or whoever's there with you this afternoon or this weekend, you want them to be even so it's fair, but also we want them to cook evenly. So if we have some that were really small and some that were large, the small ones would be burnt and the large ones wouldn't yet be cooked. So we want them to be nice and even. So you put one spoonful of mixture into each of the paper cases to start with. And then of course we don't want to waste any of our mixture either. So we go around and we top up the paper cases until we have 12 nice even ones. Now, I filled this side, so like I said, you turn your tin to be closest to the bowl. We always try and make things as easy as possible for ourselves when we are baking. So, I'm going to continue here. So I'm still putting one spoon of mixture into each of the 12. And then I'll see how much I have left and I'll top them up. And we only really ever kind of 3/4 fill paper cases when we're baking, because as we said, air is a nice natural raising agent, and when it goes into the oven, the air expands and the muffins then will rise, and if we had filled them too much, they'd come up over the top, which wouldn't look amazing. Okay, so what I'm doing now, everyone, is I'm just going around topping up the rest of the paper cases here. Okay, so we don't want to waste any mixture. We'll almost be ready, and then we're going to pop them into the oven. We of course preheated our oven at the start, so it should be up at the correct temperature at this stage, just about. And we'll be ready then to cook them. Okay, and these take 20 to 25 minutes in the oven. So you need to use the timer on the oven, or a clock, or maybe the timer on your phone in order to take note of the time, and everyone will be a little bit different. So maybe you're a little bit behind. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what time to take them out because everyone at home will be a little bit different. You might be slightly behind, and that's okay. So they take 20 to 25 minutes. And that we know from our recipe booklet. I'm using an electric oven here today, so it's at 190 degrees. Okay, so we've our preheated oven. Now, remember, of course, when we go near an oven, we always need to put on our oven gloves, okay, to be nice and safe, and you might need an adult's help for this bit, okay. So I have filled the 12 muffin tins, okay, and I'm going to put them into the oven now, and I'm also going to take a note of the time here as well. So if you're a little bit behind, that's okay, and you just need to, like I said, take note yourself of 20 minutes. 20 minutes we'll check them, and then they might need another 5 minutes in the oven, and that's okay. So I'm popping them in there, I'm closing over the oven, leaving my oven gloves to one side then, so they're ready to take them out. So at this stage, it's really nice for me to talk to you about, I suppose, one of the other pieces in our recipe booklet, and that is the construction aspect. Okay, so you might have decided that you're going to do a couple of the recipes from the Octagon booklet, okay, which is wonderful. And there was suggestions, lots of different kind of options or ideas in order to construct an edible campfire or an edible campsite, which is kind of, you can let your creativity and your imagination go wild, and it also depends what you have to hand. So I'm going to start on a plate. Mine still happens to be green, like the grass of a campsite, okay, but you can use just a regular white plate as well. Okay, so we're going to take our base. And I have come up with some suggestions in the booklet, but you might decide to do your own thing. So an edible campsite or an edible campfire. Okay, we were trying to make out of food what a campsite or a campfire looks like. So I'm going to try making some tents here first for our campsite. Okay, so I'm using some chocolate spread. My knife. Chocolate spread is a good kind of glue-like substance. Okay, I have some biscuits, so I'm going to put chocolate spread at the top. And hopefully it'll stick together like glue. So there's one ready. And then I'm going to use another one. I'm going to hold them together then. Make sure you get the angle. Okay, and it looks like a little tent. Okay, we'll do another one of those. It wouldn't be great just camping by yourself. We usually have a couple of tents on a campsite. So let's do a second one here. So it's just a biscuit. You might use crackers at home. I'm using chocolate spread. You could maybe use a smooth peanut butter. You could use an icing. If you had some icing made at home, you could use that either. Anything really that's going to kind of act like glue. Okay, so let's see now. We want to put our second one here beside, so we're going to have a little line of tents. Okay, now at our campsite we usually have a campfire. Okay, so I'm going to use some strawberry licorice laces, or strawberry laces you might call them. I'm going to cut them here with just a knife to make them a little bit smaller, or of course you could coil them around. Your choice, your creativity can go wild here. Okay, and of course we'll like to see photos, and I'll give you the details in a little bit as to how you can show us what you've made at home. Okay, so I have my strawberry laces here cut into, of course, the red. They look like the flames of a campfire. Okay, and then of course we want our logs for our campfire. So you might use breadsticks. I'm using chocolate finger biscuits, okay, because they're kind of brown, they look a little bit like logs. Okay, so I'm breaking these in half, just so it's kind of a little bit more in scale, in size with the tents that we've made. Okay, so if you were using long breadsticks, you might need to cut them into several pieces, or the mini breadsticks, maybe just in half. Okay, so we've our tents and we have our campfire. Next thing we're missing is maybe some seats around the campfire. So little mini marshmallows can be good for that. So they kind of look like pieces of log that you might be sitting on around the campfire, or maybe large stones that you might sit on around the campfire. Okay, so I'm making an adult's help for that part. So it was so lovely being with you this afternoon. I really enjoyed this session with you, and hope you really enjoy your Sustainable Development Goals section, which you have next to later this afternoon. And of course, we'll see you at the birthday celebrations this evening. In advance, we'd love to see some photos of what you made at home. So those photos, you can send them by email to octagoncamp2021@gmail.com, or you can send them on WhatsApp to 35389 227 0728, and enjoy. Bye.